work of crafting plays involves teachers and learners and not outsiders who then would impose a theme that is non-educational but political, purely political, to students, because we are hurting our children by politicizing learning or ensuring that the thematic issues or areas that inform our drama are issues that are outside the set parameters that are intended for those learners. I think that was my point. But I did not say that I am supporting the manner in which the students were handled. I would be questioning what Senator Malala was doing in school at about 3 a.m., whatever he was doing, I do not know. But clearly, in defense of CS Ongamba, who said that the parameters of how drama is done must be strictly in compliance with the Basic Education Act and the TSC Act, so that we do not have politicians running around students and misusing our students and violating the innocence of our students in violation of what Article 53 of the Constitution contemplates. And I think that is the point that Senator, that Honorable Kaluma spoke to. We must ensure that themes that students define drama, that we do not want to get, of course, it is wrong, Debal, for deliberate, it is wrong to politicize themes or to misuse children to achieve a political objective. Other adults can do that themselves, and because you do not want to go around the Children's Act and violate rights of children. That is wrong. But again, I also said that this is important. This discussion is important because it has now allowed us, as Professor Macharia said, to discuss these issues openly and see whether there are also gaps in the law. And I'm glad that senators are here. Senator Manzo has said that there was already interpretation of these issues by the Honorable Court, and Judge Okwany had spoken to those issues, and that there ought to have been an appeal to the next court. And Senator Manzo, while addressing a pure issue of drama, we are dealing with echoes of war. We are not making a political score at this point. Senator Manzo is talking about political change, which is not what we are discussing here. We're talking about the drama and what Senator Malala did, nothing more than that. And I think I want to stick to that point. I don't think that this is the forum for Senator Manzo to think that he can take over the forum. This is the wrong. Let us stick to the issue that we have here, the debate that we have here.
All right, thank you, Senior Counsel, Professor Senator Tom Ojenda. Will also get a rejoinder from Dan Mazo, and then we have Wilson Sosion. We'll wind up on it. We go to IBC. Briefly, Sosion, not you. Let's hear a rejoinder from you. Want to, of course, have a rebuttal, Daniel? That is Dan Manzo, Speaker. Speaker Daniel Manzo, right now. Can you hear me? Unmute if you're speaking, please. Kindly remember to unmute. Dan Mazo.
Yes, I can hear you. Dubai.
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Perfectly, continue.
Yes, I'm just saying that there is what you call a consequence of what happened. You know, we have seen an oppressive government. We have seen an unbearing government. We have seen a government which has no apology, even when it makes a mistake. And that we are saying, so long as the court had intervened and Malala was having a court order with him, then that should not have, you should not have seen all that what happened. This drama festival would have gone in quietly. You know, satire is political satire. There's no one making political milestone or gain on this. It's only that the government itself mishandled it, and because it is scared of truth and the change. And the change is already here. What Professor Ojenda should know is that the young girls who are in, and all the other young people who are in Form 3 and Form 4, there will be adults in 2027 and they will vote. So we want to make sure that when the government makes mistakes, they should apologize for it, but not try to justify a mistake. The use of force, the use of live bullets on children, and even in that so-called village, I've heard Kaluma say that no men should have gone there. There were also very many other boys' schools. And it was earlier in the day, people were just rehearsing and practicing. And I'm sure the teachers were fully in charge. So that should not be given the wrong impression. And I'm still insisting. What finally happened to Malala? The government followed him up, even later on in entertainment joints. And when they heard that the people were not in their favor, they destroyed his vehicle. They should compensate him. And if you allow me, Dibal, on this issue of IBC, because I can see we are running out of time.
We're coming to it.
Have people... Sorry?
We're coming to it right away.
Yes, I'm just saying, just one thing, because I can see we cannot have people sneaked into a process. We must be told why were their names not in. And it will be more surprising if those 6 turn out to be the commissioners, not even one of them. So we need to know, we need to have the truth. And I'm sure, although Professor Martin Olo said he could be disappearing, I think he was avoiding this topic. Somebody must tell us what it must be, what exactly happened, so that the nation moves with the selection panel. If they be sneaked in, then we are sorry. The selection panel has lost, its trust with the people of Kenya. I thank you, Dibal.
Indeed, critical questions are being raised, and I think you've set it as a segue now to our next topic. Osocion, just wind up on it briefly so that we can move on swiftly to the other topic very briefly. I just give you a minute, sir, if you may.
Yeah, Dibal, I will indeed be very brief. And I want to correct what Okiya Omtatah is trying to tell us, that Article 23 of TSC Act is vague. In fact, 23.2 reads very clearly, and I quote, "A person shall not engage in the teaching service unless such person is registered as a teacher under this act." So you must be registered. Extracurricular activities and classroom activities are
read the definition of teaching service.
Yes, I've read.
Read it out to the people.
Listen.
Read
Now,
it out to the people.
Implementation circular that came out on 13th of June 2018, and I can read word by word. Circular to schools, which remains in force, is that in part 2, paragraph 2, it says persons not registered as teachers, into bracket, including teachers whose names have been removed from the register of teachers, should not be incorporated in the school programs, including co-curriculum activities to teach, handle, manage, coach, supervise, and stroke or assist in the teaching, handling, managing, coach, supervision of pupils and learners. The law is clear, the circulars are clear. And the Board of Management, if you look at the show cause letter from the principal to the teacher, it is very clear the issue that the school and the Board of Management had with the script. And the board, it is important to know that the Board of Management themselves voluntarily withdrew the school from the festival. It was not the government, it was the Board of Management. So the inclusion of Malala, who is an outsider and who is a non-teacher, contravenes these circulars, contravenes the law, and this is what the school was trying to remedy. And I agree very strongly, it is not right to tear gas students. There are things we agree commonly, but facts of law remain facts of law. And Okiya Omtatah, however much you argue, even if you go to the North Pole and South Pole, the law remains as it is. Nobody is going to teach unless
going
you are a
nowhere.
teacher.
I'm just giving you the text. Read section 2
Honorable Manzo,
of the act that it defines
Honorable
about teaching
Manzo
service.
cannot tell the country that Malala is a teacher. He has never been a teacher. He's not registered anyway. These are facts of law. So I think the whole of this mess around drama where students are weaponized contrary to the provision of Article 23 of the Constitution in political matter that is beyond their scope and understanding, and in terms of scripting, and of course, what the principal of the school was cautioning about as violation of drama festivals. You cannot change a script once it's adjudicated. So I think all these matters will be addressed administratively by government.
Thank you, Honorable Session.
But the facts remain facts. If you are not a teacher, you will never teach.
Thank you. Now you're challenged, Dan Manzo, to present the TC number, the TSC number that Honorable Session was asking you. I think it would be good also for you to table that so that it could be a documentary evidence, so to speak. All right, Joshua Kipto, you got lost in the shuffle. I wondered where you went. You've been, of course, listening in. Could you just wind up this particular bit so that we can cross over now to IEBC briefly? Joshua Kipto, I yield the floor to you. Kindly unmute if you're speaking. Joshua Kipto? Your challenges with the network, I think, is gone off the grid again. Joshua Kipto? All right. I think when he gets back, we'll continue with him. I'm calling upon you, Joshua Kipto 1. Kindly unmute if you're speaking. Right, I think we need to get into a very interesting bit of it because everyone was quite consternated when they saw what happened with the IEBC selection panel. And here previously we discussed about, of course, preparation for the IEBC selection panel with the commissioners and reforms, even as we have it indicated in the IEBC Act. And in a democracy where trust is currency, Kenya's electoral body is once again, as we see it, on trial, so to speak. And this question that is being raised, and I think Dan Mazo latched onto it, the sudden and unexplained addition of 6 candidates to the IEBC commissioner shortlist, days after the officials list was published. And this has really sparked a storm of controversy that we want to interrogate right now. As transparency, we know it is faltering, and the selection panel stumbles through vague justifications. Questions amount over whether the country's next election is already being compromised in the shadows, and in a region where electoral credibility is hard earned and easily lost, the stakes couldn't be higher. So we need just to interrogate these issues and ask very pertinent questions. What criteria did IEBC selection panel use to initially shortlist the 105 candidates? And how are the 6 additional names later justified? These are critical questions. Why did the panel fail to disclose the inclusion of the 6 extra candidates in a timely manner? And what does this say also about its commitment to transparency? I think we need to approach this issue very soberly. Much sobriety is of essence, of course, because this is a very ticklish issue, even as we're heading towards general election. And does this also set a spawning ground of distrust, where we're seeing 6 candidates appearing from just the left side without any explanation that is justifiable? These are questions maybe I will begin by posing to you, Okiya Omtatah, and then we'll come to Senator Ojenda, Ndegwa Njiru as well. By the way, Ndegwa, I saw a letter that also you had written questioning, some of the involvement of some of the interviewees that were there. I'll highlight that as well, just briefly. But hold on your horses. Let's hear from. Let's get an entry from Okiya Omtatah on this particular matter. Joshua Kipto, can you hear me? Joshua Kipto. All right. Okiya Omtatah, briefly.
I think, first of all, I should say that the addition of the 6 names outside the process, the due process of shortlisting, is something that basically voids the exercise unless, in the end, none of the 6 will make it, so that the addition does not affect the outcome. Secondly, what we have to accept is that the system of using ad hoc committees to come up with the commissioners of independent commissions is something that will never succeed. Nobody takes responsibility after the commissioners have been appointed because the committee appointing them gets disbanded. Today, if I ask you who appointed Cherera, you will not tell me. Who appointed Chebukati, you will not tell me. Who appointed who, you will not tell me. I also don't know who they are. These are ad hoc committees, which basically are special purpose vehicles that are put together for a specific purpose. And given that they have got nothing to lose, whichever way they choose, because nobody holds them accountable, they can never do a good job. They cannot give us an independent commission. So whatever that they are doing, we are not going to get an independent commission. It just up to Kenyans to come up and demand that whoever is chosen does not have the room to meddle with the elections. And so vigilance is what will have to come up. And the Kenyans will be very vigilant, including by demanding that the next presidential election should terminate at the constituency level. Bombers will not accept, or any other national area where are going to do some tallying will not accept. The IEBC will simply have to announce, to declare the results that have been announced at the constituency, the 290 constituencies. Even the media should be able to call our elections in 2027. Just the way the Americans called their elections on the 7th of November last year and did the formality on the 6th of January this year. We also must be able to know of what our people have decided at the constituency level before we come to wait for the formal announcement and for the formal declaration. In fact, the word in the constitution is declaration. For the formal declaration of results, the word in the constitution at the constituency is the announcement, tabulation, and announcement. This idea that you transmit results from the polling stations to Nairobi is something we are going to fight, and we are going to make sure it doesn't happen so that the constitution is applied. We will not rely on the caliber of the persons who will be elected at IBC to conduct elections. We shall conduct those elections and make sure I've got people stationed across the 290 polling stations, 290 constituencies to ensure I've got results. Another thing that is of concern to me as regards the IBC is the decision to stop the continuous registration of voters. Yes, it's a constitutional requirement that the voters have to be continually registered. In just before the last elections, Chebukati did something unconstitutional whereby he blocked the continuous registration of voters, issued a gazette notice suspending that exercise. But the suspension was supposed to have expired sometime in January 2023, and the registration should have resumed. Now, the failure to resume that is a voter suppression strategy. I even know that when you go to the Kenya Bureau of Statistics to get some data on voter registration, there's a volumes of books they publish. There's volume 5 of the book that they publish on Census Statistics. They tell you they cannot conclude that volume because the IBC under Chebukati refused to give them the data. Earlier commissioners used to give, and up to now they don't have the data. So to know who are the registered voters or the population, how people have registered across the country from a body like the Kenya Bureau of Statistics is not possible. And those are red flags that we are dealing with. But my joy or my hope and or my salvation lies in the fact that the Kenyans are now enlightened and they know all these tricks that are played by the IBC. And we want, for the first time since we began having this new constitution, we want to have a conclusive election in 2027, a transparent, tamper-proof and conclusive election. And right from now, we are not waiting for those commissioners. They'll come there just to fulfill a constitutional purpose, but the people themselves will be organized in such a manner that they will be able to determine who the winner is, and the 2027 elections will be conclusive. Not because of that we have got commissioners who are above reproach. But because the Kenyan voter and the Kenyan citizen will wake up and guard the vote and make sure that the presidential election terminates at each one of the 290 constituencies. Beyond that, nobody will entertain those results. That's what we're working on, and it's going to work. So that's what I could say about the IBC. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Okiya Omtatah.
Welcome.
I call upon Joshua Kipto. If you can hear me, Joshua Kipto, you wanted to say something? Joshua Kipto, you went off the grid. Thank you for being amazingly patient as well. You can contribute. Thank you. I yield the floor to you. Sorry, continue.
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think I had issues with a bit internet, and I kept coming in out, and I was when there was very heated conversation about the first topic we're discussing about the Butere, the place of the law, constitution, and all that. If you'll allow me, because I really needed to. I remember as we started, Benji had asked a question about the restless and all that. So my only comment on that first topic that has ended, and just as a direct answer to what Benji had asked, I think Benji's question even puts into perspective what my 2 cents of the whole issue about the drama, whatever they play by Butere and how the government reacted. I see it differently. I'm not keen to apportion blame as to who is right or wrong, because that has been sufficiently discussed here, and we've tried to find out about the law. There are simple acceptable realities or norms. Plays or literature basically offers a reflection of society. It's more or less like a mirror. All of us who've gone through literature classes, Fasihi, the whole idea was to thought provoke, just to provoke your thoughts and to make you see. And there's nothing better than having any form of literature that makes you see the true whatever, or makes you see the mirror of the society that you live in. So all these drama plays and everything have always been with one objective: to try thought provoke the people, starting with the young people, especially the students, to think over and above and to see what society they live in, the values, the morality, and all that. So for me, that is bare minimum. So based on that, it is never a big deal who writes the play, whether it's as teacher and non-teacher. We have the place of the regulations and the law, which will then govern or guide how that can be done. Just like in school games, you'll have age being a consideration. I've seen teams protesting. I know there was a new format with a new CBC style of junior and junior high, senior high. There was a problem about who is eligible, for example, to perform. I think for the junior level, they are putting a capping of 16 years, and some schools were protesting vehemently that then that means there's a cohort that will not represent because they are caught out by virtue of age, even though they are in the same level. So when it comes to rules and regulations, that one has its place, but it doesn't take away the fact that plays or drama compositions, whether done by a director who is a teacher or not, are critical and important. Number two, on the other bit, there's a better way. I still feel there's a better way this could be done. The banning route actually gave this play a lot of airtime and limelight. It would have been better where it would have judged it based on its quality, based on its directorship, whether it was worth it. And by how the government reacted, it was like hitting an ant with a hammer. There's a easier, softer way to have dealt with it. So I felt it was clumsily dealt with, but it also exposed people to now understand. I'm sure going forward, I'm sure these rules and regulations as to who can write or not will now be under microscopic focus. Away from that, the main thing that I feel should be who takes a lesson in this. The government and the president takes a lesson from this. One of the things that comes out clearly is that this, just a small matter like this, you could see how it became a trending topic across the social media, mass media. It became like the main story. If I'm to list through the stories, the last 3 stories, the last 2 weeks, news circle, the main story was JB Muturi interview. Then Rigiji came through the entire kitchen and sink and government. It became 2 days. It was major hit. And then boom, Butere came in and took over. What was that showing? It tells you, it confirms what Benji was asking, that we have a very restless population. For me, the government, especially the president, should just take it. This is the best time to keep seeing this kind of reactions because it helps the government of the day to understand. It's more or less like a testing barometer. Where are the people? So you can see a lot of restlessness, a lot of agitation, and that is coming from somewhere. As I have mentioned in the last 2, 3 sessions we've had here, 2 issues are happening. Just a direct answer to Benji. Why the restlessness? One, of course, the economic downturn and the promises that the government came in with a view of solving the economic situation. Maybe the promise vis-a-vis the delivery do not match in the sense that citizens expected immediate results. That can't happen. That can't work. However, government has somehow struggled with the messaging and trying to keep up with the deep-seated disappointment and complaint of the people. So how to bridge that gap whereby managing expectation of the people and tell people, yes, we promised, but we are not yet there. It's still difficult, it's still hard. But in that space also, it has quickened the desire for a different governance model. And I said we are in transition. Politically speaking, we are in transition. The clamor for now is for a new governance model that works for the majority, not a governance model that works for the minority. The politics of Maendeleo that would do where someone would, where a politician would be seen to be the ultimate solutions to every of our problem is changing, especially with the younger demographic. They are demanding more and more. They are demanding institutional reform. They are demanding a real value for the taxes they pay. With the increased taxation, it even agitates and makes people now say, this is what we pay for. We must get value for that. So with that demand and clamor for governance, then the government of the day is caught in that time warp, either to continue with the usual way we normally did our politics, or to read the room and read and see where the more or less the barometer of the country is. So for me, the Butere play was just an eye-opener in the sense that the government now is able to see that the restlessness and the agitation has not gone anywhere. It has just been waiting for something to trigger, especially for me, the TikTok group, or what I call them, the bulk of Gen Z are in TikTok. So it just tells you we just rile them up. We just one thing, they were riled up again and they were up and becomes a bigger issue. So government should see it as a lesson in the sense that now that we are here, so much needs to be done between now and 2027 before anything goes. Lastly, we were discussing about the issue of IEBC. I think the conversation around IBC becomes clearer as soon and when we have the commission in place, because it has taken an inordinate period of time and it has been more or less like a ticking constitutional crisis if anything was to happen. I remember people drew scenarios during the impeachment that, for example, God forbid the president passes on. At that time, we hadn't, the impeachment proceedings weren't as complete. I think it was post, the National Assembly had already adopted the motion. The Senate trial was ongoing, I remember so. And no. It was just after the Senate trial, and then the court processes were ongoing. And then Kithure Kindiki, so Kithure Kindiki had not been sworn in. There was that wait and see scenario of what if the court nullifies the impeachment. So in this case, this vacuum, who steps in? Of course, there's the speaker, but the same speaker of the National Assembly is a leader of a party. But again, such speaker can only be nominated by IEBC or gazetted by IEBC. That does not have a commission chair, does not have a constituted commission. And that scenario was very scary in the sense that we were literally sitting on a time bomb, that if anything happens, actually then became that the life of the president was the single most important life more than any other time, because in his absence, it will be chaotic. And with the political fight at its peak at that point, where you have a nominee deputy president, you have a deputy president fighting in courts who has just been impeached, you have a National Assembly speaker who is still a leader of a political party, and then you don't have IBC in place. Shows the dire situation we faced before. So for me, the first thing first just to get it off the way without wasting time. The panel has done its interviews. Of course, this time the feeling was that we didn't get the best of the panelists. The kind of questions, I was really disappointed with my good friend Dr. Adam Solo. The kind of questions he was raising, asking people, like they were basically like,
Point of order,
I could say,
Professor Olo.
okay, Professor Adam Solo. He was asking, you're even making it worse by saying professor. So you can imagine a professor asking me something about in 1984. For example, if took advantage that maybe I couldn't have a perfect grasp of a history that 1984 famine, this something happened. I wasn't born in 1984, and maybe I haven't read about it. Would that be the basis of choosing my competence as a commissioner? So for me, what is important, if the panel, if the interviewing panel can go ahead without wasting time, nominate, then the ball shifts to parliament. What Maanzo was raising about issues, this is the only advice I always give. MPs have a platform. For Daniel Manzo, Honorable Daniel Manzo, this matter will come. I think, no, he's senator, sorry. The matter will come before the National Assembly. Nothing stops our legislature from scrutinizing. And with number two, the court process is also there. But for now, for us to verify what Honorable Manzo or the senator has mentioned about who's been sneaked in or not, let them nominate, let them be brought to vetting. That's when everything becomes clearer. And I want to appreciate the legislature of late, like the past 3 months or so. If you look at the nature of questions they put, I was looking at the interviewing that was being done to the PSS. For once, this time, you find MPs very critical. They take you through your own document, your own CV, your own experiences, your own wealth declaration. I've seen a shift a bit away from the generic interviewing whereby people would come praise. I remember in way back when Professor Magoa was being interviewed or vetted by Parliament, and every MP was falling over themselves praising him. No one was questioning him as at that time when he was the VC Nairobi. So I hope then whatever Senator Maanzo is raising or whoever has issues, let the nomination be done. Time is of essence. Once we have IEBC in place, there's so much in place. Why do we forget something very critical? Our constitutional crisis of boundary
Thank
review.
you.
We failed twice to keep a constitutional requirement for review of boundaries. The last time we did boundaries was in 2009. Professor Ojienda, I hope you are aware as a senator, up to now, we've not done a boundary review since 2009. That's a constitutional crisis. I'm sure that matter, in fact, as we speak, there's an advisory opinion that has been sought in Supreme Court about that. And this new commission cannot avoid to address that issue, because we cannot have it as a constitutional requirement that we must be reviewing our boundaries every 10 years. And yet here we are almost hitting the second 20 years, because by 2029 it will be 20 years. We have an election coming up in 2027, and we haven't handled that. So the commission has a lot in its hands. So I'm looking forward, if even by this week, the same committee can be able to give us the names, goes to parliament, we can scrutinize the nominees. First thing first, once the commission is in place with a chair, then we can start arguing about all the other bits that the IBC can do.
Thank you, Joshua Kipto, there for those sentiments. And I just want, and I appreciate also the presence of Mule Musau from ELOG, who's a national coordinator, because I know they had moved to court also to challenge this as well. I'll give you the mic momentarily. And let me just hear from Honorable Peter Kaluma on this. Then we'll come to Senator Ojenda, Okiya Omtatah as well, and Ndego Njiru on that, and Dan Mazo. The question is, given all the applicants submitted their documents by the required deadline, how then, how credible is a panel's claim of forgetting to include certain names? That's the question. You got me? Honorable Kaluma, if you're there.
Yeah, Dibala, I'm getting you.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, but
Go
Dibala,
on.
let me first register my disappointment at the platform today. We started 2 hours and 40 minutes ago, and despite requesting, I've been turned into a mere listener, and I don't think that is good.
I think you are dropping. Sorry, you are dropping from the speakers panel, so I lost you at some bits. It's not that I denied you the mark. You dropped. I don't know if it was an issue of a network. I apologize for that, sir.
Yeah, it has been a bit unfair. If in that minute, and Ibal, you remember even when I was contributing, you kept reminding me to finish, so that we have 2 hours and over 40 minutes, and you've allowed me to speak for less than 3 minutes. I sacrificed a lot to be here
I know. I
because
provide
I
for
believe
speakers.
you deemed I had something to say on these relevant matters we are talking. And so let me, before addressing the IEBC issue, just by way of rebutting, remind all of us about what the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at Article 28 says. I don't need to go through it, but you will need to go through it. I also want to emphasize that there is a good reason as to why all our laws, beginning with the Constitution, protect the area around our children. And we may be very easy to be playing politics around, but I wanted to request that more so for us in the political space, let us, play politics between us. Let us protect the area around the children. And so I will have to emphasize that if anyone breached the law around our children on the matter around, the matter of this play in the drama festival, that person, whether it is the playwright or the officers who are involved, they must, in upholding the Constitution, be properly sanctioned. And my request is that when we debate a matter as serious as this, let us not bring partisan politics into it. But clearly from the beginning, the lines appear to be drawn on a matter where we should be converging about the law. This matter is not politics. It is largely law. And if we were to look at it that way, you will be told even the cases being taken to court in proper jurisprudence, courts do not have jurisdiction to determine the programs, the contents, and the grading systems of learning institutions. That is an area courts normally keep off. It is therefore unfortunate that we keep singing about people are in court. You see now another organization is in court, not the affected school. Let us play partisan politics, and I think both sides can do so without the children being involved in the process. Now back to IEBC Dibala. We had post-election violence following the 2007 elections. And you remember we then had the international community intervene, and a commission which you remember was chaired by a former judge from South Africa called Johan Kriegler. Sat among their recommendations is that the electoral management body, the primary one of which is IEBC, should always be there at least 3 years to elections. We are less than 3 years to elections, and we are still talking about formation of IEBC. And that is unfortunate, more so considering the political tensions you see even in the current debate. If we go unprepared, there will be a problem with the 2027 elections. And I think all of us in the panel and listening do not want the situation that befell the country after the 2007 elections. It was partly blamed for lack of adequate time for the Electoral Commission to prepare to befall our country again. The unfortunate thing, Dibal, is that there are a section of our society who, by their actions, appear not to be keen to have the IEBC, composed. You remember there were complaints before, including litigation barring the formation of the selection panel. And while they were barring the formation of the selection panel, what this section was saying outside there is that it is President Ruto who come in as a formality at the tail end of the appointment of a commissioner's process, being blamed for delaying this thing. And at one end, they are delaying the president for delaying appointment, yet they are the ones in court there, either not giving nominees to the panel or otherwise. It is the same team
That was Wiper and Manzo.
yes. It is the same team which you now see quarreling again about the internal procedures of the selection panel. Let me say that in law, there are various ways in which electoral commissions are formed. If you go to a country like India, Dibal, the prime minister appoints the 3 commissioners to preside over elections, and it's not an issue. If you go to some countries, the political parties directly nominate. Go to the United Kingdom now, go to Australia, the larger Europe. In the United States, electoral commission formation is, remember, is a federal, so there are state, but for campaign financing, I told you, there is the Federal Electoral Commission. In fact, if you Google even those commissions, you will find even their biodata, indicated there. This guy is from the Democrats, this guy is from the Republican. When you go to the UK, you'll be told this one was a member of parliament in the Conservative, this was a member of parliament in the Labour. And the reason was that if you have people from the political formations, then they cannot sit down and conspire to favor one candidate in the contest against the other. And that is what gives the Secretariat the freedom to work. What we decided in Kenya, Dibal, if you look at our constitution, is that we would have a non-political process for constituting the commission. And so that is why we have the selection panel. And if you look at even the constitution, even a member of parliament and an MCA, because of our fear for involvement of politicians in everything, despite all these processes being political, are not allowed to run to be commissioners of IEBC until 5 years after the time they serve in parliament or in the county assembly. I don't know why they left governors and the other political players in the system, but it shows you how we are focused on small issues, yet we have laws which very firmly undergird the elections. We have put a selection panel. This selection panel is operating under a code of ethics. Let us have the commission so that the preparations for the next elections can begin in earnest. I served in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly from 2013 to the last election in 2022. And I can tell you, Dibal, there is so much awaiting this commission, which is competing also with time to have, free, fair, and verifiable and credible elections. Let me tell you, for example, when we were approaching 2022 elections, when we were doing verification of the voters' roll, we had cases where a single individual was registered 7 times, a single individual registered 11 times. The dead people are all over the register. And you remember the BAL, we even called Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in a joint sitting between the Senate and National Assembly to see how we could weed these things. Because we were asking, how, for instance, can you say that in this region, they constitute this percentage of the number, and yet in terms of the voter roll, they are telling you we dictate everything because we have the numbers. This multiple voters, these dead voters, and I tell you, because of the shortness of time, IEBC said we cannot, clean up the register. The boundaries review has been pending since we started implementing the Constitution. The lack we may have with boundaries review is that review does not necessarily mean you must change it at the end. It may be just confirming that the electoral units which exist in the manner they do, continue. But still, it is a constitutional process which is timed, which has to take place. So I wanted to say that it is normal. The composition of IEBC, the role of IEBC being political will always be there. But as politicians, we need to, step back, allow this selection panel to complete, their work, give us commissioners. The commissioners then operate under a code of ethics. In any event, those commissioners will be vetted by Parliament before the names of those who pass are taken to the president for ratification. Let us allow the panel to give us Kenyans who know what elections mean to a country like ours, which is helping the nation in a peaceful manner to constitute, the nation's leadership, each time. And then after that, let me assure everybody that we have so many laws, like what my brother Okiya Omtatah, was talking about. Today, the polling station is a centerpiece of elections, not even transmission. If there are any gaps we need to look at as more so as privileged members of parliament currently, let us look at them. But we cannot afford a situation where a section, including some organizations, are permanently in court seeking to jolt the process for having an electoral, the electoral process, honestly begin. I
Thank
will
you.
end it. I will end it there, Dibal,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
because
Yes.
this point you are making that some names were not there. Some those are internal procedures of theirs. I'm not privy to maybe the information I've been seeing in the media. Either way, I'll say that in the long run, we need Kenyans of good integrity, Kenyans who know what an electoral process really means to any country, not just Kenya, and Kenyans who know that from the sample of all Kenyans are available, we need the best to superintend our electoral processes so that we can have, peaceful ends to the competitions which we are, going to every period. I thank you, Dibal.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable Peter Kaluma, for those sentiments. Of course, we'll be circling back to you, of course, to give us the final marks, because looking at the time, which is really taking away from us, I would like to hear from Ndegwa Njiru and also Professor Mashara Monene and Mole Musau. Thank you for joining us. You'll give us from the perspective. You move to court as well. And Ndegwa Njiru, your sentiments?
Yeah, thank you, Dibal.
Briefly.
I have heard and listened to my friend Kaluma, but of late, I am really not able to identify with his sentiments and where he's coming from. Simply because my learned friend, Mr. Kaluma, has taken a position of deciding to see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. We are discussing about a very pertinent issue
But why are you
about,
holding brief? Why are you holding brief for him? He can actually speak for himself, right?
well,
Yeah.
I have challenged him whether he can see evil, he can listen to evil and speak about evil. He will respond when he gets his own when he gets his time. But allow me to say why I say so. We are discussing about a very pertinent issue where 6 names of individuals have been added into the list of the pre-qualified or shortlisted individuals. Number 2, even as they add these 6 individuals, we're already having a situation whereby one of the shortlisted individual, my learned friend, senior counsel Kato Kigen, has himself withdrawn from the contest. And his reasoning for the withdrawal was that he does not want to cause any confusion or any invitation that he has been brought there for a particular purpose. For one reason, that Kato Kigen was or is Mr. William Ruto's counsel, and indeed he was at the ICC trial. So anybody seeing Katwa Kigen's name coming up for the interviews will of course know that this panel has or is holding someone's brief. Number two,
All right, we need to
they have.
also. Sorry to interject. Kata Quigen now is not. He's
I,
not in the running. He's not in the running.
thought was my
Yes,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
true. That
we'll
is
come to
true.
point
you.
of
That
order.
is true,
Yeah.
Dibal. I am
Yeah,
only
so
speaking
his name is
about the
inconsequential.
public trust and public confidence. Dibal, I am addressing the question of public confidence and public trust that the people of Kenya will have to have on this panel. Number two, the panel has shortlisted and indeed interviewed one Joy Brenda Mdivo. Joy Brenda Mudivo is previously or was previously holding a very senior position in the UDA party of the chairperson of the Electoral Resolution Committee. The Constitution and Article 88 provides, Article 88, Clause 2, Paragraph A, Roman 2. It bars any person from holding the position of a member of the commission, either as a chair or of a general member, if that person held a governing position in a political party 5 years preceding the application. Number two, in the name of the 6 persons who have been shortlisted and who have been added as an addendum, there is one man who ran for the governorship, I think, of Wajir County or some a county in the North Frontier. Yet the Constitution provides that if you have ran for a political position, you cannot be shortlisted either as a member or a chair. So what am I saying as I pen off? I am saying that the panel has already started eroding the public confidence. It has started setting some red signals that is not capable of coming up and putting up an impartial, a free, fair commission that can be able to implement the kind of the electoral process that the Kenyans are looking at. So to me, I can already see and read red signals. If the constitution has said that you're not eligible, if you held a political party position, how comes that this same panel has shortlisted and indeed interviewed same individuals that the constitution bars and says that they're not eligible? Number two, how comes that ways down on the 25th of January this year, the same panel gazetted the names of the individuals who had successfully been shortlisted. The names of the 6 were not there. So let them not come to tell us that ati walisahau kuandika hizo majina. If you go on the website, you will not see the names of the 6 individuals who were added as an addendum, having been shortlisted and subsequently gazetted. So to me, this is already some smoke. We can see some smoke rising from these fires, and the people of goodwill must rise up and take up that challenge. That is why on Friday I wrote to the panel asking them to forward to favor us with the application form that Joy Mudivo field for the position of the chair. We are intending to see whether she actually disclosed that she held a position in UDA political party. I've also asked them that now the members of the public have come out, they have come out raising that issue. Has the panel taken note of that? Why am I doing this? Because we do not want to put up a commission that will be user friendly, that will be William Ruto's user friendly. We want to put up a commission that will be able to guard our democracy and guard our rule of law. To me, I'm already seeing some signals which is raising serious eyebrows. I rest.
Thank you. Thank
Chair
you.
was next. I was next.
Yes, please. Just go on, Senior Counsel.
Debal, I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
On the IBC appointments or interviews and the inclusion of the six, the alleged inclusion of late inclusion of the six names, Debal, I think that the summary by Ndegwa Njiru on the options available to him should await the outcome of this process. If indeed any of those individuals who he says were included in the list after the conclusion of the shortlisting make it, if any of them then he has a recourse, and I can see he's a very litigious man. He'll have a chance to demonstrate all those things in court, and we will defend those things, and most likely we will win. So that's for later. It's coming too early. Is too much speculation, too much fear. I do not know for what. Let us wait and see if Joy Mdibo becomes chair. Then he can litigate. We can come to court and deal with all those things. Number two, I know that a process is as important as the outcome of process such as this. The nine-member panel selection panel that is undertaking this process is a competent panel. Keenly selected, will deliver. And Chair, I have had an opportunity to sit as a commissioner at the Judicial Service Commission, and I know that even where there were late inclusions, we ensured that those inclusions, there are two modes of application. Usually there's a physical delivery of applications and online applications. At times, applications are delivered and they are either misplaced or they are not found or names are not brought at the time. And you then verify, the panel then will verify that there indeed were applications. And the inclusivity of such individuals who qualify is a function of certain processes in internal processes. And that is why I think Ndegwa should just be this time. I will finally say this, that what is important in these processes, Chair, in the end, is to have an inclusive IEBC that will reflect diversity that is transparently selected, and we see a transparent more interview going on. Question Kipto has raised questions around whether the selection is proper given the kind of questions that we are seeing. But I think